Hello, English 12 onliners. Way to survive to the end almost. Okay, so I'm just going to go over my plot summary. My in-person class is finishing Act 4 today on Friday. Okay, so we still have the motif of watching and spying going on. And you know that Polonius got killed by Hamlet because he was spying on Hamlet and his mom. Anyway, I think that's in Act 3. No, I don't know. I'm getting confused. So at the end of this act that we just finished, besides Hamlet killing his girlfriend's dad, Claudius is super mad and scared because he knows that Hamlet knows what he did because of the play. The play reenacted everything that the ghost said happened, and Claudius did that. So he sent Rosencrantz and Guildenstern on the ship with Hammy to England with sealed letters, and the letters actually say, "Execute Hamlet upon arrival." Gertrude thinks her son is crazy because he was talking to the ghost of his father and she could not see the ghost. The ghost's getting tired of waiting for Hamlet to, finish his revenge. Hamlet had an opportunity to kill Claudius when he was praying. And then at the beginning of their big blowout, Gertrude's mad because she knows she was being made fun of in the play. All right, so let me turn this around because I don't want to add stuff before my class reads it. All right, I have some notes. So yeah, I'm trying to make my video on Friday so I don't have to do it on the weekend. Okay, so conveniently, Hamlet gets brought back to England because their boat's attacked by pirates. I think that's kind of cheesy of Shakespeare. It seems like too much of a coincidence. But they fight against the pirates, and then they take Hamlet, and they realize he's someone important, and so they kidnap him and hold him for ransom. But before that happens, in Act 5, Hamlet tells Horatio that one night when he was on the boat, he crept over to the cabin of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and stole the letters that Claudius had sealed, brought them back to his cabin and rewrote them. He forged them. Let me change my hands. He forged a letter saying, "Put these two kids to death right away when they get off the ship." And then he sealed it with his dad's signet ring, so it looks like it could have been Claudius. All right, and then of course conveniently he gets kidnapped and doesn't even go to England at all. And then he sends letter to the king, to Claudius, and Claudius is like, "Oh my gosh, he's coming back," when Claudius was pretty sure he'd never see Hamlet again, so that's an issue. Let's see, grab my notes. Okay, and then so of course Hamlet now has even more reason to kill Claudius because Claudius tried to have him killed. So far now the body count is Polonius is dead. Then Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are going to be executed. That's 3 people. All 3 of those are because of Hamlet. So while we keep saying he's not a killer, he can't seem to kill Claudius, he's having people killed. All right, so something to think about. Okay, so Act 5, at the end of Act 4, we find out that Ophelia has drowned. Supposedly drowned herself or let herself drown. And Hamlet doesn't know that his girlfriend is dead yet. Laertes has come home because he found out that his dad is dead and there's no ceremony, and he's really ticked off. He thinks Claudius did it, and he accuses Claudius of killing his father. Claudius says, "Dude, it wasn't me." And then Laertes finds out it was Hamlet, and he wants to kill Hamlet. I think I mentioned last week that people compare Hamlet to Laertes because Laertes is hot-headed and wants to exact revenge for his father right away. It doesn't matter who it is. Whereas, Hamlet's taking the whole entire play. Okay, so then, there's a famous scene. So Hamlet and Horatio happen to be walking by the graveyard, and there's a gravedigger, and this is the scene called Yorick's skull. So the gravedigger is digging this hole for Ophelia, and he keeps hitting old, bones and things, and he pulls up all these skulls. One of them is from the jester named Yorick, who used to work for Hamlet's dad, and Hamlet knew him as a kid. So a jester is someone who's like a comedian, and then Hamlet grabs it, of course. He's super dramatic and stares at it for a long time and says stuff like, "Wow, lips used to hang on this skull, and I can't believe this is Yorick's skull." And then he goes off on a tangent about how he talks about death a lot in the play, about how we all end up like that. We're all going to end up a skull somewhere, no matter who we are. And then he talks about Alexander the Great and how it's kind of crazy that he was a great man when he was alive, but he's going to be dirt. He's going to disintegrate, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, stuff like that. So that's what the Yorick skull scene's about. And then he realizes, he sees Laertes and his mom and his stepdad all coming toward his funeral, and he realizes it's Ophelia, and so that's a bummer for him. And then he and Laertes fight at the gravesite about who loves Ophelia more. Kind of crazy. In fact, they both jump into the hole and say, "Bury us together," because, yeah, it's a play. Okay. And then Act 5 only has 2 scenes. The second scene starts with a gravedigger scene, and then Laertes and the king have a plan. Okay, they want Hamlet dead, but there's Gertrude, right? Claudius still has a thing for Gertrude. After all, he, stole her from his brother. So she never even knew that he was going to have Hamlet executed in England, of course. And now he has to come up with a plan to get Hamlet out of the picture for real, for good, but not have Gertrude know. So they come up with this idea to have this sword fight with a bet, and everybody's going to watch, and there's odds that are laid. Laertes supposedly is like the greatest sword fighter in the land, but Hamlet's been practicing too, and so there's a challenge. There's going to be prizes, and so what they planned on is Laertes says, "I have some poison, and I'm going to just dip the tip of my sword in there. I'm going to make sure I pick a sword that's not blunted." Usually sword fighters have swords that have a covering on them so they don't hurt each other, but he's not going to do that. All right, and then the king's like, "We need a backup plan. I also have some poison." I feel like everyone in Shakespeare's time had poison in their pantry. Do you guys have poison? Anyway, I don't want to know. So the king says, "You know what? I'm going to have a goblet of wine set by, and I'm going to give this really valuable pearl as a prize to Hamlet. Like if you can let him win the first round, and then I will toast to him, and then I will drop this pearl in the goblet, and that'll have poison on it. So he's either going to get killed by your sword with the poison, or poison in the drink, and his mom won't know any different." And so that's the plan, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, because, what could go wrong? All right, so this week you're finishing Act 5. We're rolling pretty fast now because I lost 2 weeks with you guys, second semester, and then there was Warrior Day, and then the MCAs, and now you get out. The last day of school for you is visiting your elementary school, so it's going to be fast and furious, okay? So finish Act 5 this week. You're going to have the Hamlet test on, I believe I release it either Wednesday or Thursday. I think I'll do it Wednesday. And so you'll have, of course, it's actually more than 24 hours to take the quiz or test. This is your last test until the final. And then I have a slideshow that I do to kick off the novel. Yes, we're finishing with a novel called Fahrenheit 451. You're going to have access to the digital novel, and it's really easy to read. So don't worry. There's 3 parts. It doesn't have chapters. It has parts. And so I'm going to next week release, or probably this weekend, all of the study guides. There's one for each part, so 3 study guides, and then there's a character tracking sheet that's worth a little more points. So 4 things. That's it. You can work at your own pace. You can turn things ahead of time, that's fine. But you'll have 2 weeks to read this novel. Sorry. And then that's the novel is part of your final. It doesn't have a separate test. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, especially about Hamlet. Have a good day.